child who cannot afford.
Sorry, I can't. It's so fake. It's hollow. I agree. With all the Chinese citizens online, this does feel very hollow and very pretentious. Let's talk about the graduation speech that's getting slammed online by both Chinese and American audiences. When Jiang Yurong, a Chinese international student, gave her commencement speech 2 weeks ago at Harvard Kennedy School, she drew loud applause from the audience. She was wearing a traditional Chinese collar on top of her gown, talking about loving the enemy and shared humanity that binds us all, whatever that means. But back on Chinese social media, she framed it differently. She said she was there basically to represent the voiceless Chinese students and trying to seize the narrative power on behalf of them. But instead of feeling represented, the Chinese netizens absolutely torn apart the comment section. The criticism online over her speech lasted for weeks, and it's not dying down. She was under so much heat that even her family background has come under review. So who is Jiang Yurong? And why did the very people that she claims to represent turned their back on her? And why, as a former international student myself, find this speech hollow, offensive, and scary? Let's talk about it. Jiang is no ordinary Chinese student. Her education outside China started at a private boarding school in the UK. To send a child to that boarding school, even with the most generous scholarships offered to international students, cost about $60,000 a year. Just to put things into perspective, the average annual salary in a middle-sized Chinese city is about $9,000 a year. So there's no doubt that she's from a pretty wealthy family. But that's not what really offends me. What really stings is that Harvard picked someone with clear ties to the Chinese Communist Party. According to public records, Jiang Yurong's father is the executive director of, the China Biodiversity Conservation and Green Development Foundation. Anyways, it's an organization that's effectively controlled by the Chinese government and state institutions with links to China's military and intelligence network. And that's not all. She also received a recommendation letter from Zhou Jingfeng, a senior member of China's political advisory body, the CPPCC, for admission to Harvard. So she's basically endorsed by a Chinese Communist Party member, a high-level one. Okay, while I was reading articles on this on Chinese social media, and I also looked into reportings in mainstream media here, I just had this one question to Harvard. Why her? For the life of me, I do not understand why do they have to pick her. I guess I understand the political statement they wanted to make, because the president had just ordered Harvard to stop taking in Chinese international students. But you know what would have been a really good comeback? Pick someone with no links to the Chinese Communist Party, someone with a humble upbringing, someone that actually does represent students in China. That would have been perfect. But instead you picked someone who would be there and repeat party lines.
It was built on this exact beautiful vision that humanity rises and falls as one.
Like she said here, they're human. We care for them. So why not pick someone who's been oppressed? Pick someone that's not Han Chinese. This is such an insult for us, for Chinese dissidents, and for whoever that's in China suffering, who didn't have the privilege that she has. What about us? We're also Chinese. And this is really what gets me really mad, because a lot of people, they tend to conflate racism and justice. It is not racist to call out the behaviors that's done by the Chinese government, and they definitely do not represent all of the Chinese students. And to put her there, that's an insult. Just a year ago, at the same school where Jiang gave her commencement speech, there was another speech given by China's U.S. Ambassador Xie Feng. During that speech, there were two pro-democracy protesters from Taiwan and Tibet. The Taiwanese protester was picked out by someone who dragged her out of the audience. And that person is not the security. He is actually the chair for the Chinese Student and Scholars Association at Harvard. He has no right to do that. And Jiang Yurong was working then as a staff member for the event. She not only stood there and watched the Taiwanese protester getting dragged out by someone who had no authority to do so. Later, according to a footage, she also tipped the same student to stop another protester from Tibet. Yet 2 weeks ago, a year later, she delivered a speech about how tolerant people should be and how much they should love their enemy despite their votes, despite their political stance. How ironic.
Because if we still believe in a shared future, let us not forget those who we label as enemies, they too are human. In seeing their humanity, we find our own. In the end, we do not rise by proving each other wrong. We rise by refusing to let one another go.
A speech about forgiveness should come from someone who's been oppressed. It should come from someone who has been wronged by the system, not someone with elite privilege and sympathy for the Chinese Communist Party. That should not be the message. It really scares me because it seems to me that even the most prestigious institution can't get this right. There's a separation between the Chinese government, its people. It shouldn't be lumped all together. And the Chinese government understands what's sensitive and what's controversial in your society. They will use your kindness against you. Oh, you think kindness is good? We will twist that into submission. You are sensitive about race? Then we'll exploit it to shield our own. We will send one of our party members and ask you to love us, to forgive us because we're all the same. Overall, I think this speech is a reflection of a much broader issue. Jiang Yurong, the person who gave this speech, I truly believe that she believes she's doing the right thing. And I think that's the irony here, because in China, when you come from an elite background, there is a bigger information gap there than the elites, let's say in Canada or in the US. It's more than just that they are unaware of how normal Chinese people go about their lives. It's more about the lack of empathy and the lack of information. Even if they did want to get to know more about the majority of their own country, where would they go? There is no freedom for press. There is no platforms for them for those who are oppressed to speak for themselves.